From software developers to farmers and aerospace engineers, many industries are still heavily dominated by men. But while many industries seem to be making strides to fill more positions with women, finance seems to be trending in the opposite direction. Here to shed some light on this sex-based debacle is financial expert Michelle Connell. Thanks for joining us. Tell us, does gender play a role in money matters, making investments and building wealth?
It seems to play a role if you want to be hired as an institutional money manager, but actually women are just as adept as men at managing money. And actually this year, female hedge fund managers are outpacing men during COVID.
Oh, wow, that's pretty interesting. Do you think that more women need to be learning and working toward working in finance and investing money?
Yes, I definitely do. 20 years ago, I got my charter. It's a chartered financial analyst designation. That's what you need if you're going to run a mutual fund or manage pension money. There are less of me now than there were 20 years ago. So basically, less than 1.5% of institutional money is managed by women or minorities. So we need to change that. We need to start going into the schools and making it a career choice, and enlightening kids when they're young before they even get into college. By then it's too late.
Gotcha. Well, when we look at how many men invest compared to women and how many are doing this as a profession, what are the differences?
Well, the differences are that women actually are better at gauging risk when they're professional money managers. They look at the upside and the downside, so women tend not to lose as much. But on the personal side, women take that to an extreme and don't take enough risk. They sit in cash, they second guess themselves, and they really shouldn't, because actually they don't get as emotionally charged about the high of winning like men do.
Right.
Almost like what we've seen this year with Robinhood, and you've seen young men, just flowing into these technology stocks because they're all looking at the upside. Women really have a tendency to, kind of balance out and say, okay, what could I lose on this? And that's a good thing if not taken to an extreme.
I hear you. I mean, it's kind of in the DNA makeup, right, of a men versus women. Women maybe we're a little bit more rooted, like I'm not going to take that big risk, but then men are all about those big payoffs and the,
Yep.
like, what am I going to gain? How can we encourage women and make them feel more encouraged to start investing or pursuing a career in finance?
I think we need to start talking to them early so they even understand that it's an option to go into finance and manage money. And actually, from a competitive standpoint, it's really fun when you beat men. I mean, when I beat my male peers, which I more often than not do, it's really nice to be able to do that. And putting the competitive part aside, it's also nice to be able to take care of your clients, protect them on the downside, and help them reach their goals, whether they're individual clients, or in my case, I manage a lot of money for charities. And so the better I do, the more money goes into their communities.
Yeah, and then you're really making a difference. Okay, so
Exactly.
How could someone like me, a woman, how would I seek out a financial advisor? Should I look for a female, or would it benefit me more to hire someone that's male that takes those high risks? Well, what's the difference in how they invest?
That's interesting you say that. There was a study recently, I believe Financial Times in England put it out, that showed that women, when they have male financial advisors, actually they hold back. They don't ask enough questions versus if they have a female. And that male advisor, I'm not saying always, but there was a tendency more often than not to sell the high fee products to a female, because it's assumed that we're not going to ask questions.
Oh.
So we need to learn to ask more questions, whether you hire a male or a female, and not be intimidated, because at the end of the day, you're not going to know everything as a non-professional, but it's your money. educate yourself enough so that you know what questions to ask, what your goals are, and especially what kind of risks are you putting your retirement and your money into.
Yeah, those are some good points. You talk about risks and maybe holding on to money right now. We're in the pandemic. A lot of people have been extra cautious, especially with the state of the economy. Should the pandemic discourage women from trying to improve their portfolios?
No, it shouldn't, because right now interest rates are very low. So if you're looking at people in bonds are probably making less than 2%, we have to be a little bit more curious. There are other options out there. I will say right now, I'm hedging a lot of my equity side of my portfolio because obviously technology stocks and mega cap stocks have gone up so much. So I'm hedging, I'm holding back a little bit more cash because typically before an election, the markets pull back. And also, once we get through this election, we go back to 1940, the markets typically do quite well. So I kind of sit back now, make a shopping list of what you want to own, and then jump in, once we find out who our president is, whatever that's going to be.
Very good. And I'm sure, once you get your portfolio in order and have those investments going, I'm sure you will feel much more empowered. Michelle, thank you so much for coming and sharing some of your financial insight. For more on the study, you can visit